So we're live, but we'll wait a few moments. Start saying hello to everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
But while we're waiting for people to join us, Jamila, I want to say to you, congratulations to you and Ladies of Virtue on your
Oh, thank
successful fundraiser.
you.
And I want you to tell the people a little bit about the fundraiser and about how they can still give and support and what you were raising funds for.
Yeah, so thank you, Lakeisha. Yes, every year we have our annual Leading with Virtue annual fundraiser, and we have this event to, number one, really honor 7 women who are leading with purpose, passion, and perseverance. Women who are dynamic in their industries, who are doing great things, not only in the professional setting, but in the community as well. And they are executives and entrepreneurs and just really doing their thing. And so we honored 7 amazing women this year. And we also highlighted and showcased the work that Ladies of Virtue is doing in the community. So that was a great event. It was a record-breaking, a record-setting event, I guess I should say, raised $146,000. So kudos to everybody, and thank you, Lakeisha, for spreading the word. I just completely just so grateful to have wonderful support, especially with my sister and mentor, Lakeisha. And so, yes, you can still donate. You can go to our website at lovchicago.org.
Yes, and please do make sure you support that organization and in any way you can, even if it's just spreading the word, donating, getting more support, following this page. If you just happen to come on to Raising Black Girl Magic and you didn't know what it was, follow this page, follow Ladies of Virtue, social media, follow Girls Like Me. Really powerful events, really powerful resources, all of that. And tonight is just an example of that, right, Jamila? Of
Absolutely. So, Sharon, what you got going on real quick?
We got a lot going on. And I know we're behind. We're 6:03, so we are. We just finished our Day of the Girl. We did a virtual event, which is still available to see online. We're launching our. We just launched a new website last week. We are launching our mobile app, which is in the final beta stages, and then also our podcast. We just started our growth programming, which will work around, which will highlight and fuse together art and mural art and storytelling. It's a rites of passage program. So girls will be learning history. They'll be learning some Sankofa traditions and rituals, and they'll be creating murals for the Bronzeville area that bring attention to the Black girls that have gone missing in the city of Chicago, who have been murdered in the city of Chicago. So that's a pretty powerful piece that we're working on. Podcasts that the girls are producing. So much stuff coming. So,
love it.
Yes.
Keep it going, sis.
Yes, we gotta keep it going because our girls definitely need us, Jamila. They really do. And so thank you for being ready, standing up and willing to embrace all girls, because we see what the power of girl power can do just with what we've seen over the last month with the elections and with pushing people for power. So
true.
So now we did that. Welcome everybody in. We have some powerful speakers this evening. And Jamila, I'm going to step back and let you do the introduction.
Sure. Yes, and we
I'll bring them in as you introduce them.
Yes, and one of the reasons why we wanted to even have the name of this discussion, as you all know, we have our monthly discussions, and the name of our Raising Black Girl Magic topic today is Overcoming Seasonal Depression. I know that this is a topic that oftentimes my girls and even our parents are going through. And so we thought that this would be just a great time to just sit back and learn from the experts. What are the signs? How can I help a friend that may be going through this? All of that. And so today, we're going to sit back, and I don't take up too much of your time on a Sunday evening, but we do want to give you the skills and the tools that you need to really overcome seasonal depression. And so I'm going to introduce our 3 panelists, and then they're going to go into more detail about themselves and what they are bringing for today. But first is Kenyatta Atwater. We are so excited to have her. She is the founder of Breaking the Silence, which is a mental health organization. So a round of applause for her. Second, we will have Dr. Francine Bellamy. She is a licensed clinical psychologist. Round of applause. Say hey. And last but certainly not least, Chantel Bitzlings. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And she is a licensed clinical professional counselor, and she will be providing her expertise as well today. So I'm just excited to have all three of our ladies here who are going to be really teaching us and talking to us about how to overcome seasonal depression. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I see Kenya may be having some technical difficulties, but I'm sure she'll be back soon. So maybe Dr. Francine Bellamy, maybe you can start first with the introduction.
Of myself? Oh, well, first of all, I just want to applaud you young ladies for the wonderful and marvelous things you're doing for our girls who need it. And the fact that you're developing them from the inside out is phenomenal, because so much of the media, of course, focuses on the exterior. So I'm glad you're focusing on the interior. And this is a topic that's near and dear to me. Anything that has to do with mental health or mental unwellness, I'm always excited to talk about. I'm excited to bring this out of the closet, because as you know, there's still a stigma in the African American community about mental wellness or unwellness. And Hollywood, is getting it a little correct with some of the TV shows they have, but it's just nice to have this platform to talk openly and honestly about some of the things that are going on, particularly around the holidays. Our families are hurting, our communities are hurting, and so we have some good news to share with you. You want me to continue?
Great. No, great. Thank you.
Okay.
No, that was a great introduction. And maybe Chantel can go next, and then followed by Kenya.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am so glad to be here with you ladies on tonight. It is so exciting, again, to have this conversation about all things mental health. And so I am just excited to be here. I am Chantel Biddings. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor in private practice here in the Chicagoland area. And again, it's just my pleasure to join the conversation.
And Kenya, we're just introducing ourselves. Kenya.
All right, my name is Kenya Atwater. I'm the founder of Breaking the Silence Mental Health. I'm not a therapist. I really just share from a perspective of someone who has overcome a deep depression. I also deal with seasonal depression as well. So I really come to the mental health field from my own perspective and my own journey.
So I want to just interject really quickly, Kenya, and I'm back to echoing again. I want to just interject really quickly, Kenya. So you're not just speaking from your own perspective. That's that's a huge, a huge testimony, a huge experience. But also, the work that you do is so powerful in that you get and you provide resources and support for those women who can't afford therapy or to have mental health. So that is a key component, and that is why you're also a part of this conversation. So it's not it's a huge thing. So
yes, absolutely. So I really couldn't hear everybody else's introduction, because I don't know if I'm having mic issues. But on top of me being a founder of Breaking the Silence, we have built a Black mental health network for anybody that is chimed in right now. And if you're looking for a therapist, we do have connections with therapists in Chicago and Chicagoland area. They'll probably accept your insurance type, and if they don't, we can help you get funding.
Wow, that's critical, because I know that we get those questions all the time. So do not let this conversation end without you sharing more information about that.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to be a great resource for our audience. But we can just kick it off by really just setting the tone on what is seasonal depression. If you all could share with us, especially our mental health experts here, what is the definition of mental health? Of seasonal depression? What are the causes? If you can just give us some background information so that we start off this conversation.
Okay, I'll start. Seasonal depression, let me just clarify. Major depression is a mental illness that is in what we call our diagnostic manual. Seasonal depression, we have to be a little careful because I like to call it the holiday blues, because there is a seasonal depression called seasonal affective disorder that is the result of living, let's say, in the Midwest where it's cloudy, it's cold, you don't see the sun. And that is a diagnosable illness where people are treated with light therapy. They actually are prescribed a light box that they have to sit under for 10 to 30 minutes a day, and it stimulates the retina, it activates, the brain in a way that, helps to counteract the depression. So that's seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression. And so for what we're dealing with now as we enter the holiday season, I'd like to call it more the holiday blues, because
thank you.
The symptoms may overlap with major depression, but they're not as severe, and it's temporary. Usually people come out of it after the holiday season is over, but it's real. There's overlap with the symptoms, and you may want to add something, Chantel. Just wanted to kind of clarify those things.
No, that's good.
Absolutely, that was great.
Chantel, you can give us more detail, and then even with the holiday blues, what causes it? Just because the holidays are coming up with Thanksgiving or Christmas or other holidays that our audience may be celebrating, what would cause someone to have the blues during that time?
I'm glad Dr. Bellamy provided that clarification. That was really great. And just in simple layman's terms, it is your body's kind of response to lack of sunlight. And so we're going into the season where, when our times is set back, that, when you wake up, it's dark. And then when you end your day, it's getting darker early and earlier. So in Chicago, it's dark now around 4:30. And so most people are finding it difficult when you're working throughout the day, unless you have a window nearby, you don't get much sunlight. You don't get to see the sun, and it's kind of dreary. Today was a really rainy, windy kind of day. And so sometimes we experience that where that lack of vitamin D, that lack of sun exposure makes you feel kind of down in the dumps, makes people feel very tired, makes people lack energy or focus. And that's what, those are some of the main symptoms that we may be experiencing during this time.
No, that's good. And I know Lakeisha had asked about young. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kenya.
I was just going to say in terms of
Yes.
I was just going to say in terms of the holiday blues, if we think about what may cause some depression there, I think you guys probably know that already. One is the high expectations that we may have about the holidays that are not met. I was just really noticing these TV shows. They start as early as Halloween, the Hallmark stories where they tell these and show and demonstrate these wonderful families where everybody's in love and there's a perfect dinner and a perfect table. And we know for many of us, that's not the case. So we have high expectations. We want to meet every demand that's being placed on us. And lo and behold, that's not our reality. We don't have the money to do what we want to do. We don't have the energy to do what we want to do. We're exhausted, we're tired, but yet we have all these expectations. Also, people have memories perhaps of holidays past, and they're missing their loved ones, they're missing their traditions. And so that stirs up feelings of sadness and grief. And it can last for months, until we get into the new year.
That's so true. And Lakeisha, I know you had asked about young people and their experience. Did you want to provide more background about that? Oh, you're muted.
Yes. So yes, I do. I wanted to talk. I know we talk a lot about, especially we talk about the holiday blues, and we can understand that, right? But Dr. Bellamy, as you were just saying about the light boxes, how do we recognize in children and young people when they're being affected by this as well? Because it's not something that just happens overnight, right? This is probably a pattern that's been taking place forever. And then as you get older, you're more cognizant. So how is it possible for young people to have this? And if it is, how do you recognize it, and what supports can you offer?
Well, yes, indeed. Young people do experience feelings of sadness and depression. Absolutely. The other thing that a lot of people don't consider, though, too, is that it's a very dynamic process. In other words, kids pick up the feelings and the moods that they experience in the home. And so if you have a parent who's depressed and sad all the time, then the kids are more at risk for feeling the same way. The same is true of agitation and anxiety. If you're somebody who is constantly on pins and needles and you're anxious, that energy is going to bounce off into your children and your family and your home environment. So I think adults need to be very aware of what kinds of energy and messages that they're sending out, into the family environment, the home environment. But things like a loss of interest in normal activities, any changes that you see, you need to be tuned into. Sleeping more, sleeping less. Kids tend to be more agitated. Their depression, in other words, is manifested as agitation, irritability, acting out in some cases, more than just being sad as we might experience as adults. And so some of them may sleep more, some of them may sleep less, some of them may yell more, some of them may act out more, do things that they normally don't do, maybe lose interest in their friends and schoolwork and all the activities and things that used to excite them, they're no longer excited, and on and on and on.
That's good.
Pardon? You had another part to your question. I'm not sure. What was that? Would you repeat that, please?
Oh, I was just going to ask, because you mentioned about managing our expectations, and that's really how we can fall into the holiday blues, because maybe you thought you were going to spend time with someone, or maybe, who knows? There may be a variety of different reasons. And so how can we manage our expectations? So as we're going, we know that that's one of the reasons why we may fall into holiday blues. How can we manage those expectations? What can we do now to help prepare ourselves?
I'm glad you asked that, because it starts with making a plan and setting limits and being realistic about, what the situation is. And for right now, a lot of people are unemployed. They don't have jobs. They don't have money. They don't have resources. They're juggling multiple roles. They're doing things they've never done before. If you're a parent, you're teaching, you've never taught before, you're exhausted. And so really setting limits with your family and being proactive about what the expectations are. And people are flexible. And the other thing is that it's not about the things. When we think about Christmas, people spend a lot of money on presents and gifts that they can't really afford. And they're tossed, and they don't even remember what you gave them. And so it's about the experience. For example, it's more meaningful to, let's say, spend an afternoon or a day or two baking cookies with children or preparing a meal than it is shopping and giving them a present. And so being realistic, setting limits, being proactive, like starting now about Thanksgiving, starting now about Christmas, what's the plan, what's the budget, stick to it. And also self-care, taking care of yourself, getting the proper rest, sleep, not eating, not overeating, not drinking, and not engaging in negative and unproductive activities that are going to sap your energy.
That's so true. Chantel, did you have anything to add to that?
I did. I think this is the perfect year for us to start creating new traditions. There are so many limitations due to the COVID-19 virus and our kind of trying to be socially distanced and being responsible about our care, our health, and the care of others around us. So this is a great opportunity to start new traditions. So start with activities, creating the experience. Start with maybe a family pajama night, a family movie night, things that normally we don't have a lot of time to do. But now that we're all together kind of more consistently every day, we have an opportunity to create these new traditions with our families. And even if we can bring in our extended family through Zoom or other forms of social media, where you can still connect without being physically present.
One of the things that COVID has shown me is it's shown me all the things I can do without. I look in my closet, clothes I haven't worn in 9 months, shoes I haven't worn. And so it really tells me things that I can do without. I don't need all this stuff.
That's so true.
One thing I would like to add, I
Yes.
can't really hear you, Chantel, so I don't know if I'm like repeating anything that you said, but I don't really deal with like the holiday blues. I think I could kind of separate like holiday blues from like seasonal depression. I really deal with like my seasonal depression after the holidays, and it typically kicks in the same time of year and it ends the same time of year. And it's just like so ironic. But January every year, I deal with my seasonal depression, maybe up until March. So what I do is what I can suggest for people is to get a therapist, because you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to our live streams, you can listen to different suggestions. But when you have a therapist, your therapist will help you deal with the symptoms that you deal with, because everybody's symptoms are different. One thing my therapist has really helped me with is to establish a routine prior to January. So that routine, she's like, hey, you're tired more around that time. Your body is aching more around that time. You lose your appetite. You're more irritable around that time. Let's structure your routine now. What are some things that helps you around that time? Are you gonna start back working out? Are you gonna start back doing yoga? Another thing that I do is I change my eating habits in the wintertime. So I eat vegan sometimes in the winter. It lessens my stress for some reason. I know it's like some technical, answer for that. But I go vegan. And I'm not saying that people have to go vegan, but change some of your eating habits. Find new recipes. I think keeping myself busy in some type of way around the house really helps me. I also listen to like positive podcasts. I try to like beat the negative energy or thoughts that try to come. So I listen to a lot of like positive, podcasts. I also have a affirmation app. So the affirmation app is called I Am, if people are listening, and it's a free app. They do charge you to get a higher level of it, but the free app really works for me. It's like before I can even have a negative thought, the I Am affirmation is like on top of it. It's dinging like, I build healthy relationships. Every hour is sending you a positive affirmation. I eat healthy. I make healthy decisions. So I do a lot of things like that. I call my friends. I talk to them, even if it's not so much about what I'm dealing with. I think a conversation always helps, keep me grounded and keep me present at the times when my depression wants to slip in. It's a lot of things I do, but I always tell people, find what works for you, because as you start getting on this wellness journey, you will find what works for you.
I love that app. That's that. What's the name of that app again? Kenya?
It's called I Am.
I Am. Okay.
Thank you so much for that self-disclosure, particularly about the therapy, because having that other person is another level of accountability. So that's a good thing. And it sounds like it's really working for you. And you also sound like you're a classic case for seasonal depression. And what about the lights? Do you ever include that in your treatment?
So you know what? My therapist have suggested a Zap light for like the last 2 years, and I just have yet to get around to it. She's also suggested like a weighted blanket. Weighted blankets really help me. I have times that my organization gives out weighted blankets. We're not doing it right now, but hopefully like in the next few weeks I get a grant that allows us to give out weighted blankets. It really helps with like stress and anxiety. I use the weighted blanket, but not so much the Zap light. I think this year I will try it.
Or even spending as much time on a sunny day as you can, too, outside.
I do. I make sure I at least take a walk. If I don't take a walk, I'm not more so like a walk outside type of person. I'm more of like a Target type of person. So I like. So my
you need the light, that sunlight.
Yeah, I know. It's bright light in Target. No. But for me, like
fluorescent light.
I know. I absolutely understand that, because I understand that like I lack the vitamin D in the wintertime, and that's what kind of throws my my mood off and make me experience the depression. So I do. Sometimes I take, vitamin D, like natural vitamins. But I like to take a walk, even if it's not like outside, because I can't do like the cold. Like wintertime is too much. But like taking a walk around Target, even if I'm not buying anything, I'm window shopping. We all need something, we
Yes.
can get from the store. But I do things like that.
Well, good for you for working on your plan so hard.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
That's that touch day therapy. She got the touch day therapy going on.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that too, because this is the first year that I've actually gotten a therapist. And like, she'll help me understand patterns that over and over that we try to fight through, right? So we try to fight through this period when we need to sleep more, when we need to be down more, when we don't need a lot of interaction, but we think we should be productive because this is the end of the year and everybody's productive, right? Or it's the beginning of the year and everybody's ready to go with their resolutions. And so being able to tap into your body, tap into like what, just like bears and animals, like they're very key to the element, and we fight against it. So Kenya, I'm just like you, just now understanding and recognizing and having it actually, said to me, yes, that's what this is, right? I wanted to also hear from you, Chantel, and you too, Dr. Bellamy, about like ways that we can get our mind off of ourselves. So volunteering and serving, does that help? And is it good for young people to do it now as well?
Absolutely. I think that those volunteering always helps you to kind of distract from your own self. But absolutely serving, re-engaging. I have been promoting, even though we are socially distanced, we don't have to be emotionally distant from people. So don't cut yourself off. Don't isolate. Make sure that you're still engaging responsibly with your family members, with your friends, and with your community. So this is a time like never before that we can be more involved in community aspects, even from a distance. You can volunteer, you can do lives, you can spread the word about different causes, and you can be active. And so that definitely helps when you are active, when you are engaged, it helps you to be motivated to do more.
And one of the neglected communities are really the elders. I have a lot of elders who are not technically savvy, and so they are really isolated. So a phone call or even a drive-by or standing on the porch, I know we have to socially distance, but they are really experiencing isolation like they've never had before. So that would be a nice little niche for young people to kind of tap into.
That's good that you both mentioned that, because that was actually a segue to our next question around just with us being in quarantine, and we're not able to see each other safely, because we shouldn't, right? We shouldn't be spending time with a whole lot of people because there's risk for COVID and other things. But how can we, aside from what you just mentioned, I did hear phone calls. I heard, maybe some Zoom family nights with, other members of your family who don't necessarily live in your house. Are there any other tips that you can provide now that we are in quarantine? And if someone does have seasonal depression or the holiday blues, any other tips, or even how we can help? Both Lakeisha and I, we have nonprofit organizations where we do serve girls. Any tips for us in terms of helping them overcome holiday blues during this time?
The young people or the elders? I'm sorry. What? One of the things that the elders have,
or the elderly.
Well, the elderly, again, because they're not technically savvy, I think they're experiencing a greater sense of isolation. And so just trying to figure out ways to stay connected to your elders and elders in your community, making sure they're okay, making sure their needs are met. Young people can offer to do chores, shovel snow, run to the grocery store for them. And they can in turn perhaps share some of their wisdom and knowledge around recipes and how to make specialty items to feel included. One of the things that my mother did many years ago was, she's passed away now, but she had a super recipe for sweet potato pie. And thank God, it was not written down. I had her to give it to me orally before she passed away. I took it upon myself to write everything down, and then I shared it with every member of the family. And believe me, they're holding that recipe near and dear to their hearts. And every year we bring it out and we make the pie in honor of my mother. So you can create those kinds of traditions that Chantel talked about, and just staying connected, as you mentioned. But being creative, I think what COVID has taught us is that it's forced us to be creative in ways that we never imagined before. Making your own movie, making your own videos. I mean, I look at all these people who are making their own videos, and I'm just amazed at the skills that they have, the hidden talents. So tap into your creativity in ways you never have. You can even have a painting night, where you're not drinking liquor necessarily, but you're having this sip in, what do they call it on Zoom?
A pain and sip.
Pain and sip. Thank you. I attended a 75th birthday party last Sunday on Zoom. It must have been 25 of us on there, and it was phenomenal. I got to see people I hadn't seen. The younger people, of course, coordinated everything for us elders, but it was so much fun. We played bingo on Zoom. So being creative, opening up doors that you never thought about before. Just trying it out.
That's giving me ideas, Jamila. I think about ways that maybe our organizations can partner with some elder organizations or nursing homes, and maybe our girls, and not just our girls, but any girl servant organization. Is an idea that maybe we can go and hand out things, or just make something and drop it off, or make these baskets and different things like that. So,
and you know what, great minds think alike, because I actually did just put young people can play bingo with the elderly. So that's we see, you already gave us some marching orders. We own it now.
And you know what? My grandmother, she's 88. So like sharing recipes, I can like relate to that, because I'm like the one that's mostly always quarantined from her due to me working in the community a lot. So I do things like call her for different recipes. I also like go to her house sometimes, and we'll make like posters, and she'll knock on her window, I'll wave. I call her. I know sometimes like you can like write elderly like letters, handwritten letters. They like old school type of stuff, handwritten letters. For like my friends who deal with seasonal depression, I do things like I just call them and check on them, because sometimes like having a resource is not always the answer, but being there and just showing love, like calling them, checking on them. I may even play different games online with my friends, like, hey, let's play Uno real quick. Let's play checkers, let's play chess. It's always an app that can keep you guys connected, FaceTime. And I know everybody don't have Apple, so it's an app called Dual. Galaxy, Androids, you can download Dual. FaceTime your friends, not just the elderlies, but your friends, people who are in quarantine, and just talk to them and try to stay like connected as possible.
Yeah, the connection is really important. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another thing that you can add to the list is picking up a new hobby, which is always great and helpful.
Yes.
So we talked about the paint and sip. Some people I know have learned to crochet. They are doing puzzles. Clearing the clutter out of your house is always something we can always do to keep us busy, right, ladies?
Yeah.
So like cleaning that closet out that you've been meaning to get to. I think that Dr. Bellamy said it earlier. We have to make a plan. That's the best way to combat seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression, is making a plan. So don't wait until you're feeling the effects of it. Plan ahead, identify your triggers. Like Kenya, you say you've been dealing with this for years. So you know what the triggers are. You know your time span where it usually hits. So plan in advance to have yourself with a task list, with things that you want to do, new ideas you want to try, books you want to read, and have that plan already set up.
Absolutely. Another thing I can say, like, I know me, like I have a plan and I put in like a routine place. And I know sometimes when people wake up, you don't always want to like follow that routine or that plan. So what I've done over the years, because I used to get to a point to where I either follow the plan or I don't, and it either works or it doesn't for me. So one thing that my therapist kind of helped me with is like, can you pick 3 things out of this plan that has to be done? And that really just helped me stay above with my depression, because I'm like, okay, this, and this is a must throughout the day. So I know that I have at least 3 tasks. And I just want to like reassure people who deal with like seasonal depression, it's okay to like, have moods and days where you don't want to do the work, because it's work that comes behind like this journey. And every day you may not feel like it. Like I know I'm like a heavy advocate for mental health and wellness, but every day I don't feel like doing the work. I just had a week last week where I just didn't feel like doing the work. But then you have to get up out of that funk and you have to make the decision that you're gonna do the work. And I knew it wasn't gonna be an every day for me that I was gonna stay in a funk. But I know I had to make a decision at some point that I'm gonna get up and work throughout my routine, my plan, and things that help me get out of the funk. When I do get in like a mini depression.
Yeah,
So
that's a
it's
good
okay.
point. That's a good point, because it's a wellness journey, whether you're on a weight loss journey or a healthy eating journey, exercise journey. I mean, it's the same thing. You may not do it every day, but you have a goal in mind and you want to work towards that goal every day or every week. And some days you fall off, and some days, you're okay. You're right.
Just long as to get back on it,
Gotta keep at it.
Yeah.
Gotta keep at it. And not beat yourself up when you fall down, because that doesn't do any good.
Absolutely.
That's a part of the journey. That's a part of the process. I'm hearing a lot of noise. I don't know what that is. Does everybody else hear the noise? Echoes, noise?
Absolutely.
A little bit,
I think you're right. I think a big part of it is making sure that we give ourselves grace during this time. A lot of times we extend grace to other people that we don't extend to ourselves. So even though you may be having a rough time today or this week or the past couple of weeks, it doesn't mean that that's going to continue. So give yourself the grace to say, okay, this wasn't a good week, but I'm going to pick up and I'm going to be better tomorrow.
That's good. I love that. And I love all the tips that you all provided. I mean, I have like
Muted. You're muted. You're muted, Jamila.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that I really love all the tips that have been provided today. I have about a half page of notes because you all really provided so many just great ideas that we can implement right away. One of the questions is, we understand now the signs and the symptoms. So, if individually as a person, if you were suffering from seasonal depression or holiday blues, we understand that now that they can look within to say, okay, you know what, these are some signs, I need to go get help. But what if it was a friend? What signs should we look for there? So, are they staying in the house more frequently than ever before? Are they just, what should we listen for as we're on the phone with our friends to know that this is something a little bit more serious?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is for you to be honest with your friend and just let them know that, you're concerned about them. I'm hearing you say that I have a relative right now who spends every day, all day in the bed. And so I asked his wife, I said, is there a television in the room? She says, no. I said, so he's just in the bed all day in the dark? She said, yes, and she can't do anything about it. And so I let her know. I said, well, he's depressed. I gave it a name and he needs help. But because it's not my husband, then I'm limited in terms of what I can do. But I think being honest with your friends and family members and letting them know that you're worried about them, you're concerned about them. I've heard you say X, Y, and Z over and over again. And there's help for you, and I want to help you. And people, I have found when you share that love, that concern with people, they respond because they feel that you are concerned. I think a lot of times we want to do the opposite. We want to tiptoe around and avoid standing in our truth and their truth. But the reality is that they feel that concern when you say, I'm really worried about you. And let me figure out a way to help you. Let's do this.
Can we stay right there for a minute, Jamila? Because I do want to go into that, Dr. Bellamy, with we have other people in our homes, right? And this is about raising Black girl magic. So this is not just about a mom who may be experiencing, or a girl, but everybody who is in that village, right? So if you're a mother and the father or whoever is living in your home is also feeling that depression, it is going to impact other people. So can you both, all three of you, can you share, like, how does one person's depression impact the rest of the
Absolutely. I mean, we can always go back to the tried and true argument of whether it's nature or nurture. Am I experiencing depression because I have a chemical imbalance and that is just a part of my makeup and that's why I'm depressed? Or have I learned these behaviors from people around me in my home? If my mom or my dad has been depressed, or my grandmother is depressed, and every day when they came home from work, everybody shut down and turned the lights off and nobody talked. Or when we got upset, did we just not face issues? We just push it under the rug and we went to sleep. What behaviors have I learned that made me think this is the way I'm supposed to function? And a lot of times that is what a lot of our teens especially have seen. They've seen their parents manage or not manage their depression in these ways. And then it shows them this is how I'm supposed to behave. And so that is what they're projecting. That's what they take out in the world. And so we have to be very mindful of the fact that our children, they do what we do. You know, not necessarily what we say, but they do what we do. And so we have to make sure that we're mindful that some of the young ladies that you will come in contact with, or even the people we come in contact with, have learned how to operate in this overall sense of depression.
That is the first time that I've ever heard anybody say that depression can be a learned behavior. I've never heard that before. And that's powerful because we also look at coping mechanisms, right? So we look at all of this. My organization deals with media and narratives in the media. So we have this narrative in the media where it's wine 30 and it's time for wine every single night. If you had a hard day, it's time for wine. Like that is also giving that answer that you get when you're sad or when you have a hard time. So I'm so glad that you said that, Chantel. Dr. Bellamy, Kenya told us about some of the things that her therapist does when she visits. What are other ways what can people expect when they come to see you? They're sitting across from you on your couch or now across virtually. What should people expect from a therapy session?
Well, first and foremost, I really believe that there has to be the right fit. Every therapist is not going to be the right fit for every person. And so if you meet with a therapist and you feel like there isn't any chemistry here, this person isn't helping me, then you have to find another person. And so you have to shop around until you find that right fit. And Kenya, it looks like you really found the right fit. You found somebody who's accountable, who's making you accountable.
Absolutely.
Things you can do. Other people just want to be able to sit and have somebody listen to them and say very little. So it depends on what it is you think you need and what is that right fit for you. Some therapists are more proactive and more behaviorally oriented. Some are more reflective and person-centered. And so they sit back and kind of let you talk and come to your own conclusions and decisions. Some therapists are just clueless about some of the cultural issues that you may bring to the table. And so fit is really important. Just like we shop around for doctors and we shop around for hairstylists and we shop around for a dentist or any kind of provider. And so you want to shop around for a therapist as well.
Absolutely. I always have this analogy that I use, and I tell people, you know, the way you treat your outer head is the way you want to treat your inner head. If you go to a hairstylist and they cut your hair wrong, or you don't like how they dyed your hair, you're going to go and find somebody that does your hair the way that you like it. Same thing for your inner. Sometimes, you know, we treat our inner a little different, but you have to treat your inner the same way that you treat your outer. If that therapist is not working for you, shop around until you find someone that works for you. And I've had many experiences, just with navigating like the mental health just system overall. I started in 2015 just trying to navigate, the mental health system. And my first go round, I just didn't have a good fit. I didn't even know how to find a therapist, first of all. So I went to a free clinic, and it was almost like every other month I got a new therapist. And then when I finally solidified a therapist, he just wasn't a good fit for me. And as tired as I was, I just wasn't into like settling for something, dealing with my mental. It was hard for me at the age of like 27 going to get a therapist. On top of that, I was 25 at the time, I think. It was hard for me to even accept the fact that I needed a therapist, let alone when I did make that step, I didn't want to settle. So I had to make the decision to, find someone that fit for me. And like I said, navigating it was pretty hard, but I eventually found a good fit, therapist for myself. I really did.
Good for you. And
Yeah.
the idea of navigating it for yourself, I mean, that is so difficult, but it's the
Yeah.
reality. And if you live on the south side of Chicago, I mean, we really are in a mental health desert. I mean, it's just, we don't have the resources available. The mental health, the city clinics were closed and shut down. And so it is a huge problem. Even though Pritzker, when he got elected, he talked about how mental health was going to be the top of his priority and this and that, the other thing. And I have not seen that happen.
Hmm. But the other thing I
One
would
thing,
always suggest is doing your research. I'm glad, Kenya, that you like stuck it out. But look at sites like therapyforblackgirls.com. Look at therapyforblackmen.org. Use Psychology
Psychology
Today.
Today.
Yes,
Yeah.
use all of those resources to kind of do your research on a therapist. Go to their website. Look at, this is the the area where you can Google everything. So
Yeah.
definitely do your research. And again, don't be afraid to say this isn't working for me. It's okay. Therapists should be okay enough to hear this is not a good fit for me and I need to find someone else. I promise you, we will not be upset. We should not be upset, most of us. And we will encourage you to keep searching till you find someone that's a good fit for you and that will help you.
And sometimes a therapist can make the shift too. If you articulate to them, what you need more of, then sometimes they can make that shift. Not always, but sometimes they can. And I'd love to see those resources that you said you had, Miss Kenya. You're going to share those at some point?
So, what I actually did was build a network. So the network is a Black Mental Health Network. It's therapists throughout Chicago and Chicagoland area. I don't have like a public list of it, but I haven't even publicly spoke about this initiative that I'm about to launch. But I'm about to launch like a mental health tour in preparation for January, when we will completely shut down, like the prediction of a complete shutdown when we get a new president in office. So in December, me and like a production team will be touring like different therapists' office in Chicago, and we'll be filming them doing different workshops, and it'll be like very clear on where these therapists are located at. So we'll be killing like two birds with one stone. We'll be educating the community and helping them navigate. So like, hey, this therapist is located here that just did this workshop. This therapist is located here. I don't have the list public right now. I'm working on just like a few things, like trying to get an app to make it public. Things update monthly with therapists. They get added to new panels, and I just don't have the technology. But right now, people reach out to me via Facebook, via Instagram. We're Breaking the Silence Mental Health. On Facebook is Breaking the Silence Mental Health and Kenya Diva. People reach out to me through email, and most of all, like word of mouth. When I do like a speaking engagement, so many people have just been connected with therapists. I go in nail shops. I pass out literature. A lot of times, people call me back and say if you're looking for a therapist. So although I don't have the technology, I make myself like accessible and try to keep visibility just in the community. But I do.
That's great. If you can post some of those resources in the chat once this is over, that would
Absolutely,
be
I can
great.
do that. And then I also put like my information down. If someone's looking for a therapist, I'm like really good with helping with the navigation piece. You can give me like your insurance type that you have, like a potential client or someone that's looking for a therapist. You can give me your insurance type and your zip code, and I can find you a therapist like in your area. So I pretty much I'm helpful with like navigation, but I don't have it like
Awesome.
digital at the moment.
Awesome. Awesome.
That is great.
And we also
Well,
have like a funding piece to where if people run into so many different circumstances, not just like navigation, but insurance. Some people, they don't have insurance and they don't even make enough. Some of them don't qualify for public aid and don't make enough, to get or don't have insurance provided with their jobs.
that's
So
true.
I have like a funding piece where I help people, pay for their mental health services. And it's basically all off of like me fundraising. I help them pay for it. I partner with therapists that accept the sliding scale fee. And then they have the option of, different therapists that they can go to. And I pay that monthly fee, for them. Some people pay two sessions and I pay 2 sessions. And a lot of that started off of my own journey as well. When I did receive, poor practice from our board of health, I wound up getting connected with a behavioral therapist out in Oak Park, and it was like 40 minutes away from my house. She didn't accept my insurance, but my first session with her was better than like 3 months at the free clinic. So I asked her, I said, how much would it be for me to pay out of pocket? And she told me $250. And I told her, I said, you know what? I don't know where I'm gonna get it from, but in the next 2 weeks, I want to make an appointment with you. I'm gonna have it. And by the grace of God, I received the settlement that I wasn't even pursuing at the time for $17,000. And she showed me how to purchase insurance through the marketplace, which some people call Obamacare. And I was able to purchase Blue Cross Blue Shield out the marketplace and get, quality insurance to get out of the space that I was in. And I was in a deep depression at that time in 2015. And I really just made a promise to God. And I told him, I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I will make it my business, to help people in the mental health field. And I did just that. I really created what I had and what I didn't have at the time. I created a funding piece, a navigation piece, and an education piece. And through our education piece, I try to show a lot of love to people because that's one thing I did have from my family. So if it's people that's listening, like, how can I help my family? Sometimes really just being there in love, like listening to my family laugh and having fun. And, even when I couldn't get out the bed, it still kept life in me because people around me were living. But I'm very like passionate about helping people, in the mental health field, especially when it comes down to like navigation, funding, making sure you get a therapist, making sure you have, funding for that therapist, and also educating our community. Because prior to me getting help, I like really suffered with a depression for 2 years, and I literally lost everything trying to take care of it on my own. Um, and I knew I was dealing with a depression because I was dealing with a postpartum to start with. And after you have a baby, you go on a postpartum checkup and they give you this list and they ask you, do you feel this way? Do you feel that way? Do you feel this way? And I'm like, whoa, I feel every way on this paper. But what does that mean for my life at 25 if I admit that I feel every way? I'm gonna have to get a therapist. Does this mean I'm crazy? It was so much stigma attached because there was no education in my community. There was no education in my family. I was the first person that went to therapy of my knowledge. And then when I started speaking out about it, come to find out some aunts went to therapy, but it's always this hush hush thing. So that's why I really call my organization Breaking the Silence, because I really want to break that silence and stigma and make sure that we can normalize going to therapy,
Absolutely.
normalize needing help, you know.
I
So,
appreciate your witness and your testimony. You're just awesome. You're doing awesome things for the community.
yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So if it's any way that I can help anybody listening on the live, feel free to like reach out to me.
Yes, I got chills and tears because it's just a difference when it's coming from that place of your own pain and your own purpose to make the world better and the community better. Ooh, that feedback. When it's coming from that place, it's just it's just a whole different motivation. And you touch so many more people. So what I want, Kenya, I was putting your ladies, if we can mute when we're not talking, I don't know where that feedback. I hope it's not me. But when you if everybody can put in the chat your how people can reach you. Kenya, I had yours scrolling across. I want to do that for everybody. I want to make sure that people somebody right now is needing to reach out to you all right this moment. And I want them to be able to have that at their hands when we end this or as we're on. So please, ladies, put in the chat your information. Kenya, I had just the title, Breaking the Silence Mental Health, but if you can tell people, I know you said Instagram, but your website is up too, right?
You're on mute, Kenya.
Yeah.
My website is being updated right now, so they can reach out via like Instagram, Facebook, email, Breaking the Silence, the number 8@gmail.com. You can also call me. I'll put the number in the chat as well. I'll just put like always that we're accessible in the chat.
That would be great. And we have Laverne that's on here. Laverne, if you could put that actually in the live chat, just so that our audience can see it as well once they post it here behind the scenes. That would be great. Awesome. Do we have any questions from the audience? If there's anyone with questions from the audience, please let us know. I know we got Teresa said, how can we contact you, Miss Kenya? So they are looking for your contact information.
You can contact me via, if we're on Facebook right now, my Facebook is Kenya Adiva, KENYA ADIVA. On Instagram is Breaking the Silence Mental Health. If you prefer email, is Breaking the Silence, the number 8@gmail.com.
We also have a question is, can you list those websites to find a therapist? Can you say that one more time? I think Chantel and Kenya had mentioned a couple websites. If you can say that one more time.
Therapyforblackgirls.com, Psychology Today. It's one that's called Melanie and Mental Health. What else am I missing? I don't know. What am I missing, Chantel?
Therapyforblackmen.org is another one. And then there's always use your Google. You can always Google, especially if you're looking for a clinician of color. There is clinicianofcolor.com also out there now.
Yeah.
But you can always Google to find a therapist near you, African American therapist near you. And I think that we can always utilize our resources. Try to go to the databases that have them kind of laid out for you according to your preference, and don't be afraid to ask for what you want. I think that a lot of times we shy away from finding a clinician that looks like us, and I think that that is very important, especially in the day and time that we're living in and the social climate that we're living in. There are just certain barriers you don't want to have to over-explain. You don't want to have to over-explain your lingo or, phrases you might use, or even be afraid of being judged. So make sure that you ask for what you want. If you would like to work with a female therapist, ask for that when you talk to your insurance provider. When you call the number on the back of your insurance card, tell them what you're looking for specifically to help you get to what you need.
And I'll say this: I got my my therapist simply because this summer just did me in. And I knew before I'd have two deaths. Two very close friends of mine died. One in 2000, both one in the end of 2018 and one at the beginning of 2019. There was a lot of grief. Then this year and everything that's going on, and I simply posted on Facebook and said, I am losing my mind. I need a therapist. And I got so many recommendations. I got phone text. And I think that's something that we have to be okay with doing, is just saying, because I had an uncle who was later in life diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar syndrome. But, you know, so many people shun that. When I grew up to understand that we all have 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 people in our family who are, you know, who are diagnosed, you know, who are certifiable. But then we have those who are like Kenya and myself, who go through the seasonal depression and just other forms of just dealing with trauma. And I think if we open our mouths and be vulnerable, like Kenya is doing, you save a life when you are able to tell your story. So that's why I'm so, Kenya, I just knew I had to put your name up here for this panel, because I know how I see what you do, and I see the impact you have. You are liberating people. And as we say, raising Black girl magic. And when you do that, you change a whole community. And as you see, as Black women are doing, when we can change the women in our community, change the women in our family, we change the world. So thank you all.
So I don't think there are any more questions, so we can select a winner for today. We always end with 1 or 2 winners that we can provide a resource to based on our discussion today. So we are going to give away a weighted blanket and a light kit. And that, you're going to have to go into more detail about that light kit too, so we know exactly how to use it. But if we can recommend, if we can highlight a winner, I have one, Terry Shante. Woo! Laverne is going to reach out to you. You are our winner for today. Laverne will reach out to you to get the light kit and the weighted blanket. And Dr. Bellamy, can you just say one more time the importance of the light kit and why that's so useful? Oh, you're on mute.
Light kit, or even bright sunlight, natural sunlight, stimulates an area. It goes through the eye, the retina, and it stimulates an area of the brain that helps lessen the symptoms of depression. And so there is a physiological component to it. So the mind body is connected. And so the brain, of course, is where, you know, we get our moods and our feelings and all of that from. And so depression, you know, is there. And so the light, you know, helps. And if you've ever lived in another climate in the wintertime, like I had the opportunity to be in a southern climate in the winter, it made all the difference in the world to be able to go outside and to see the sunlight in the wintertime on a regular basis. In the Midwest, we really are at risk because it's cloudy, it's cold, the sun goes down early, it's dark in the morning, it's dark in the evening, and that affects us. We don't get the vitamin D that we need, and we don't get the stimulation in our brain to help improve our mood. So it can be natural fun or the kid. Yeah.
Right, well, that's great. Well, there you have it. Terry Shante and Vanessa McNorton are our winners of the light kit and the weighted blanket. Round of applause for our 2 winners.
Jamila, did you see Terry Shante said she was shopping around for a weighted blanket and could not afford it?
Well, thank you. See, that's all we tapped in. Look at that. Look at God.
And then here's another, someone in our chat is also saying that they're gifting 2 people lights for this season.
Wow. Look at that.
Where can they find lights?
They're on Amazon. So you can also look, and Lakeisha, I will give 2 as well.
Wow.
See, look at
God.
That's right, just coming through. we're going to, yes, let me give Laverne's email. So it's L. Tom. Can you post this, Lakeisha? L. Thomas at Love Chicago. I will put that in our chat. If they can reach out to Laverne.
.org or .com?
ORG. I put it in our chat so you can copy and paste it. But if they can send their information, we really just need, yeah, they can send their information and then we'll get that out to them. Awesome. Well, great. This has been a phenomenal discussion. I know I learned a lot. And I cannot wait to share this information with our girls who weren't able to make it today. Are there any final thoughts, ladies, as we close our discussion this evening?
I would just like to say to everybody, dealing with seasonal depression, or even the holiday blues, to be kind to yourself in these seasons and know that it will pass. It's not going to be here forever, and just be kind to yourself. Yeah. Don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah, and I would say to be able to admit, like you have, Kenya, to say, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And there are people out here who can help me. Yes, and to be kind to yourself and others. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just finally add that we have to make sure that during this season that we understand how much every day is a gift. And we have the choice to make it what we want to make it. So choose to have joy, choose to find a therapist, choose to operate and enjoy in peace and love with each other, and choose to do self-care on a regular basis.
I love that. And we want to Imani Community Development Corporation and Nehemiah Rising, who also assisted us for this evening. We appreciate both of our partnering organizations today. And Lakeisha, you want to close us out?
Yes, I just want to say I'm really huge in spirituality, and I really do believe in God and everything being in divine order. And I know that those of you who are listening, I know this was on time, and I know that somebody's life right now is liberated, and their whole year is going to be better because of this. I do also, Jamila, want to share out that our partners, Nehemiah Rising and Nehemiah Trinity Rising and Imani Community Development Corporation will be doing a mutual aid collaboration project on November 24th, where it will be food giveaways, toiletry giveaways, feminine product giveaways. And so if you would like to make any of those donations, toiletry, food, feminine products, please do reach out to myself or Jamila. My email is info@girlslikemeproject.org. And then you can follow us on Facebook, follow all of our accounts, Jamila and I. The event is posted, and you'll have ways to give. Thank each and every one of you all. I hope one thing is clear from tonight, and that is that mental health is the same as dental health. It is the same as eye vision health. It is our brain is the same as any other organ, and it needs to be checked up and cared for and nurtured. And it doesn't make you in any way weak or something that needs to be fixed in you. It's simply the same way we have to nurture everything else. Ladies, I want to thank you for being a part of this. We cannot raise Black Girl Magic if we ourselves are not raising and lifting our own vibration. So thank each and every one of you. Jamila, thank you. And Ladies of Virtue, all of the families of Ladies of Virtue, all of the families, supporters of Girls Like Me Project. We will see you back here on what's the next one, Jamila, in December?
We're going, yes, date to be determined, but in December, we'll be back.
We'll be back. Bye, everybody. Have a powerful night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.